Happy Sunday, cousins. It's your favorite cousin's favorite cousin. Welcome to the Trap House. We're going to get into a little bit of Black church today because the tea just gets so deep. I just love how hot it is. Once you start comparing and contrasting the timelines and the lineages, and you're like, oh my God, he's him and she is her, and that's why that person was who they were. I just love it. I have not publicly been doing Black church for the last couple of months, but if you are subscribed to my Patreon, we've been consistently over there dropping Sunday tea and knowledge and meditation and Reiki and all of that. So if you are missing the energy of decoding and metaphysical understanding and actual theology of the Bible, then you already know where to head. But today, we're not even going to go that deep. I'm going to talk about the story itself because it really is just that hot. Okay, so for weeks, I've been hearing my great-great-grandmother's voice say the book of Ruth. Like, you need to read the book of Ruth. I don't know if you know, or if you've been following me for a while, if you've been around for a while, but I've been an ordained minister for 4 years. I have been doing Black church for, I guess, a year and a half now, almost 2 years. And that's where I go in and I decode the Bible, but I don't know what I'm going to read or what chapter I'm going to read or talk about until I received the download from my great-great-grandmother, who was actually the one who wrote all the sermons for my great-great-grandfather, who was a traveling minister back in the 1800s. So it's really a dope connection. I'm so forever grateful for it. When your ancestors speak, listen. When they are trying to get in contact with you, listen. Being diligent to the compass that they are trying to give you, when you know that it is in alignment with your life purpose, it's untouchable. So I did not know what I was going to talk about on Black Church a couple of weeks ago. And then we had the eclipse, and so I was trying to do some eclipse energy, decodes of the Bible for the eclipse on Patreon. But I kept hearing Ruth, the book of Ruth, Ruth, the book of Ruth. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. But I always like to go look at the chapter or the chapters to see how many chapters there are so that I can then allot enough time to study. And then the way that I study, I'm going to need to know how much of it I'm going to have to do. Is it going to be 3 chapters or going to be 36 chapters or 100 fucking chapters? And I need to know. So I go look at Ruth, and I was like, oh, it's only 3 chapters. I can do this. I can definitely do this. But then I never read it. then I went on my life and went back to work and took care of my baby and my man and did my thing. So again, for weeks, Ruth, book of Ruth, book of Ruth. You talk about Black church, here you go. I'm trying to tell you what you're gonna talk about. So I finally opened the book of Ruth. No, before I go. 2 weeks ago, I attracted 2 clients named Naomi. Now, that's not a common name. So the first Naomi, it stood out to me anyway because I like her name. That's cute. That's so like goddess energy to me. Naomi has always been like a goddess energy to me, or like bad bitch. I don't know why, but it just gives me that. So then like 4 days later, another Naomi slid in the inbox, and I'm like, they don't live in the same place. They don't have the same last name. It's crazy, right? So I was like, God, I know you're trying to show me something now. Why do I need to know about Naomi? What is the name? The etymological meaning of Naomi. And matter of fact, while I'm saying that, I need to look it up. So hold on. Etymology of Naomi. Pleasant or gentle. Pleasant above all and beauty. Okay, so now we know that. So I was like, there's something you want me to know about that, but that's fine. I'll figure it out later. I did what I was supposed to do and moved on. Then I opened the book of Ruth. And although it's the book of Ruth, it's actually the book of Naomi. And that's what they should have called it. The book of Naomi. Ruth starts out with Naomi being married to a man who starts with the name E. I don't know how to pronounce it. They have 2 sons. Those 2 sons grow and get married. But before they get married, their dad dies. So now Naomi is a widow. But she still has her 2 sons. So the 2 sons get married. They get married to Orpah and Ruth. And a decade after Ruth and Orpah get married to the sons die. So now Naomi is a widow, and she's also a childless mother. So she's sad. And she's like, I'm going back home. I'm going back to where I come from, and I'm going to lick my wounds. God has forsaken me. I don't want to be bothered. She sends away her daughter-in-laws. Well, she tries to. Both of them are like, no, we're going to ride for you. We can't let you grow old and not have anybody in your life. And she's like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And y'all deserve to be loved and, hopefully found in God's favor, that one day y'all be able to attain the type of love that you deserve. So go on. So she convinced Orpah to go, and Orpah finally left. But Ruth was like, I'm not leaving. I'm going to ride with you. Wherever you go, I'm going to go. Wherever you die, I'm going to die. Wherever you live, I'm going to live. This is what Ruth tells her mother-in-law. Now that's funny because in a lot of cultures, especially in Western society, the mother-in-law and the wife sometimes have a horrible relationship. That movie Monster-in-Law, they have a horrible relationship. The mother is overprotective of the son. It's almost kind of like some Oedipus shit that's going on. Or on the flip end of it, I mean, because you can even look at what's their name, Chrissy and Jim Jones. Jim Jones' relationship with his mother is the reason why he'll never be able to marry Chrissy. And I don't even follow hip hop drama, but I remember a decade ago, I was able to see that. Same thing with what's the other boy, Lil Scrappy and his mom. Toxic relationships with these mothers and sons. So then when the woman comes in who should be able to like love him in a different way, it's almost shat upon because of the unhealthy relationship between the mother and the son. So anyway, to see that these girls love their mother-in-law so tough that they were going to sacrifice maybe ever even being loved, ever having children. Their husbands died before they could have children. So maybe never even having those things, but they were fine with that because they love their mother-in-law so much. That's really dope. And that says a lot about Naomi's character. Okay, so she convinces Orpah to leave. Ruth says, I'm staying. If you live, I'm leaving. If you leave, I'm leaving. If you live, I'm living. If you die, I'm dying. Wherever you at, I'm going to be with you. So they go off. They go back to Ruth's hometown, or Naomi's hometown, which is a part of Israel, which I think is the Moabite. She is a Moabite. So I don't know if that's the Moab desert or something like that. But I believe it's in Israel. So they get back. And they get there at the time of barley season. And they become gleaners, I think that's what gleaning, yes, Glean, which means that they are basically modern day dumpster divers. They don't know who the land belongs to, and they know that during the day somebody else works the land, but at nighttime they will leave the scraps behind, and they'll go get the scraps so that way they can have something to eat. They can maybe have something to trade and barter with. So they find out that it's Boaz who owns that land. And Boaz is a really nice king, and he's, willing to let them glean for free. He doesn't want anybody to mess with them. He's like, y'all let them do what they're going to do. So Naomi goes, after she finds out who Boaz is, not to mention Boaz is Naomi's like cousin from a distant relation. So when she finds out that it's Boaz's land, she also now no longer feels like God is forsaking her. And she's like, oh, God has smiled on me. And you can see where she's having her turning point, where we have all been at life, where we feel like, oh my God, everybody's left me. I'm deserted. I'm alone. I'm abandoned. I'm afraid. And it seems like God has forsaken me. And then maybe out of nowhere, or because you change your vision, you're able to see that there are like angels of support around you, earth angels, energies that are supporting you, and things are actually working in your favor. And it's not anymore that God has forsaken you or that no one is smiling on you. It's just that it wasn't your season. And the fact that they got there right at the beginning of harvest season, barley season, and now her fruits are starting to reap, and she's starting to see life different, is to me not coincidental. So she says, you need to go be with my daughter-in-law Ruth. She been riding with me. She came back home with me. She abandoned her own family, because Ruth could have gone back to wherever she's from, which I don't know where, but she could have gone back to wherever she's from and found somebody from her tribe, got married, be taken care of by her parents, whatever. But she chose to ride with Naomi. So she's like, so I want her to be taken care of, and I really want her to have a husband. She's praying to God to give Naomi a husband that will take care of her, and blase woo. So Boaz like, let me go check her out real quick. Let me see who she is. So he goes and he looks at her, and he likes Ruth. And so he already placed jurisdiction that Ruth and Naomi can glean in the fields as long as they want. And don't only let them glean and dumpster dive. Give them big stalks. Give them, the cream of the crop, because they deserve it. They have good souls, pure energy. So then he goes and he tells his homeboys declaration that he's going to marry Ruth because he thinks she's a baddie and that she's, a woman of virtue and needs to be with him. So he goes and declares that he's going to marry her. They get married, but not only when he marries Ruth does he declare that, like, this is my girl, treat her like a queen, it's going to be great. He says, but y'all better treat her mother-in-law like a queen too. And you better treat the memoriam of her husband and her sons like they come from me, like they're my royalty. What you say? Hold on. Hold on. The energy of the Most High God and Goddess is so potent that it snatched her proverbial life, the life that she thought she was supposed to have and build, and it made her sad and broke her down to nothing. Only for it to be replaced with an even larger scope of reality that she couldn't have even dreamed, because Boaz is her cousin. So he's like, you fuck with my cousin, you're fucking with me. And even if you speak bad on her dead husband and her dead kids, I'm gonna dead you. Like, leave them be where they be. And you can also look at this as this being Ruth's new husband, and the new husband looking like, oh, and don't talk bad about uh my girl's ex-husband or her dead husband. Don't do that. And I know that this is not necessarily my mother-in-law, and she really is not connected to us that way, but still hold her in high regard. So now everybody's under his cloak. In between that, let me do share that Ruth listened to Naomi, because Naomi was like, yo, I basically set it up that this dude gonna be looking at you. So Naomi goes and she tells her, you need to lay at his feet at night. And when he wakes up, before everybody else wakes up, that's when he'll know that your presence is there. So she sleeps at his feet. And some people look at that as like, why would she sleep at his feet? Why would she be willing to be at servitude to him? But it was just also putting her in the position to be seen, to be uplifted. Because he needed to know who he was getting ready to make his wife. You know, it's Cinderella. He needed to know that Cinderella existed in order for her to even get there. He needed to know who Cinderella was. He's been looking for this girl to fill this space. So they get married. They have a kid. Their kid's name is Obed. They birth Obed. They give Obed to Naomi, and they allow Naomi to raise Obed as her foster child. Now, this is my part right here. This is my part. Okay. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Remember now, Boaz is married to Ruth now, but he's also Naomi's cousin, distant cousin. Boaz is the father of Obed. Obed is the baby that he had with Ruth. Obed is the father of Jesse. Jesse had 12 sons, and one of their sons' names was David. So, Naomi had the opportunity to make the decision to crumble at the crumbling of her life, crumble at the failure of her life, at the death and demise of her sons and her husband. She could have not only rejected Ruth and Orpah, but she could have been so mean and cruel to Ruth once she saw that Ruth was not going nowhere. She could have been like, just disgusting to her, because now I told you I don't want you here and you keep coming. But in those times, she allowed herself to see love and be connected to that higher vibration of love. A lot of people say that the book of Ruth is a love story. And it is a love story, but not before the motherfucking fall. Okay. So, she believed in the energy of love. She was able to be fulfilled with the energy of love. And that led her back to someone who is directly connected to the inheritance of the Most High, being in high regard of the Most High. That even when she was in the lowliest position, a gleaner, somebody who goes out and picks up the scavenger herbs and weeds, is now moved into the position of like second queen, because she is revered. And because she's an elder, she's even more revered. But then the bloodline is what fucks me up, because y'all already know David is my nigga. David is God's most loved, appreciated gangster killer in the Bible. The nigga didn't kill close. I don't know. We definitely in the 500,000s that David didn't kill. That God told David, go kill them niggas. If you don't go kill them, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take your blessings. Your family ain't going to be what they need to be if you don't go kill them niggas. Okay? But what I found very interesting. This is the Compact Bible Dictionary by Zondervan. I love this encyclopedia. Ruth, a Moabitess who married a son, Elimelech, and Naomi of Bethlehem, her romance resulting in her becoming ancestor of the Messiah mentioned in Matthew 1:5. But the Messiah mentioned in Matthew 1:5 is Salmon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab, and I got a whole recording on Rahab. So when I found out that Rahab was involved in this lineage, I got so excited. I said, "Oh my God!" Rahab is number one. She was the head madam in Israel when they went in there to knock down the walls of Jericho. She was the head madam. The whole city did not like Rahab. They treated her with disrespect. But when David and his homeboys, because that's not his name is it's not David, it's who was Moses' protege? Joshua, child. When Joshua and his homeboys went into Jericho to basically scope the land to see how they were going to take it down so that they could inherit their space that God told them, go in there and kill them niggas or y'all not going to receive your inheritance. See, and that's why I like actually reading the Bible and deciphering it at my own level of expertise, applying different information that also lines up with the lineage, because you never want to take anything at face value. You never want to accept one opinion as that being the opinion, even if it's the truth or the expertise of someone. Who deemed them the expert? Go and devise your own opinion and your own findings. So what I like is reading and deciphering the Bible in my own understanding, and to see that God was really a gangster. Jesus come from a whole lineage of streetwalkers. Literally, streetwalkers and gangbangers is what Jesus comes from. And if he existed. And the fact that they try to whitewash this whole story and make it seem like it's some sort of, I don't know, fairy tale endeavor is insane to me. It's so funny to me. And that's why it's so imperative that you go and do your own research. I know that I was led to do Black church and do what I do because I am on the same playing field with my community and my audience. And I know a lot of us left the church at the same time. And we're not going back to the church. We're maybe going back to the foundations and the traditions that our ancestors found in the church or left us with that they may have retrieved from the church. But the Bible is one of the best storybooks you will ever read in your life. It has sex. I mean, the book of Solomon that's a porn. I said, that nigga said, she was so bad. I told them give her all the bracelets and the trinkets and the gold. Started talking about her lumps and her humps. I said, this is porn in the Bible. I ain't tripping. But why? They didn't tell us that that's what it was. Y'all be trying to play with me. Go and read it. Like I said, David's a gangster. He killing every fucking body. God telling him, if you don't go kill him, I'm going to kill you. Same thing he told Joshua and Moses. If you don't, Moses gonna die before y'all get to Jericho. So Joshua, if you ain't ready to level up and go in there and murk these niggas dead, you ain't gonna have nothing to have. But Joshua said, cool, I'm gonna go in there. So he scoped the city. And Rahab was the one who saw him scoping the city. Rahab hid him and his homeboys while they were escaping the city for demise. They are coming in there to kill everybody in the city. But because Rahab protected them while they were doing that, they told her, we are forever indebted to you. She said, my only favor is that y'all don't kill me when y'all come in here and kill everybody else. Or don't kill my family and anybody connected to me. Now, let's keep in mind, she's the head madam. So she has a lot of other sex workers under her. And she don't want none of them to be touched either. And because she hid these niggas, they not gonna touch them. So I love that story so much because Rahab's bloodline, and now I'm finding out that Rahab was such a gangster that Rahab is connected to Jesus. She the bloodline of Jesus because Jesus is David's grandchild. Anyways, to see that she was the least revered, the city hated her, they looked down on her, they condemned her because of the type of work that she did. only for the Most High God and Goddess to reserve life for her in the future, for her bloodline to be what started that city again, for her bloodline to be what's protected again. So in this dictionary, it says Matthew 1:5. It talks about she became the ancestor of a Messiah. Ruth is the ancestor of a Messiah. So Matthew 1:5 reads, Salmon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Obed, the father of Jesse, and Jesse is the father of King David. It says nothing about Jesus in there. Therefore, David is the Messiah. And it mentions that a couple of times throughout the Bible. I've said, since I've gone really deep into my own studies, I would pray to David. My religion would have been based on David, not Jesus. Like I've said before, he's only mentioned 3 times in the book. Jesus only mentioned 3 times in the book. David is mentioned a million times, and we see that David is a gangster, and we see that God loves David. David did so much work for God. He put so many bodies out for God that God made sure that his kids inherited the blessings and the wealth of the earth, even people who didn't deserve it. King Solomon deserved it. And let's never take away from Solomon's, additive to the greatness of the story. But he then even fell short of his own glory because he felt like he needed to have all these women. So, anyways, the Messiah there is who we're talking about. Is David, not Jesus. And that's what I want to share about that was Matthew 1:5. So she goes from being not having a husband, losing her children, not having a place to live or stay, to getting to do it all over again. And it's all because she chose not to die in that moment, which ties directly in with one of the themes of the week that I wanted to share on the Trap House Tea and the Trapstrology of the week. I was watching this documentary last week with my man, and it was about eagles. And they said that eagles, on average, live 30 to 40 years. And then between that 30 and 40-year gap, they begin to go through a transition. Now, for all of my cousins, my women cousins, who have been on my IG for the last couple of weeks, or on my Patreon, it's 22222 on the clock right now, on a timer. I've been sharing my perimenopause journey. I'm 38. I'm between that 30 and 40-year gap. So the story of the eagle, when we was watching it, was resonating so deeply with me. And I said, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, Spirit. So the eagle from 30 to 40 years of age can feel like they're ready to die. They can make the choice to die, or they can make the decision to rise like the phoenix from the ashes. But in order for them to do that, they have to go through a very tough transformation process where they have to literally grow a new beak, but they have to peck away at and claw away at their old beak in order for that beak to come through. The whole process takes 156 days. For their new beak to come through, they grow new feathers, claws, everything is new. Everything is new. They have to pluck out their old feathers with their new tender beak in order for the new feathers to come in. And their claws go through a transformation as well. And then in order for them to do this, or when they do this, they live another 20, 30 years, 30, 40 years. And then they die. I said, that's so deep. For the human experience, for the Black church experience, Naomi, for us, for everything, for the woman's experience, we're going to reach a segment of our lives where everything is hard. Everything is working against us. Or you're at that age of your life where you've tried it all. You're older. You've lived it. You've done it. So you can feel like I'm ready to just lay it down. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to change. That's my thing that I was telling my man as I was going into this next journey of my life last year. I don't feel like changing. I don't want to change. I don't know why the universe let me get away with the way I had been behaving for all of these years. And you expecting me at 38 years old to be a dog that learns a new trick? Why would you do that to me? But then the eagle story came. And I could either choose to fumble and crumble and lay down and stay miserable, and not saying that I was miserable, but I'm just saying staying in that vibration of well, I guess this is it. I tried and it just didn't work. So I'm just going to live this way, which a lot of people do. That's why a lot of people stay in jobs and relationships that are not fulfilling to them for a long time, because they feel like there is nothing else. If you feel like there is nothing else out there for you, then you will not strive to achieve or have anything else. You will not even put yourself in a position, Ruth, to have anything else because you don't think that it's possible. You feel that what you have is what you deserve, right? Or you feel like your loyalty because you got Ruth being so loyal to Naomi. Maybe she loved Naomi's son so much that even in his death, she like, I ain't leaving this man's mama on her own out here. What I look like? She deserved to have somebody who love and support her, right? But if you're not willing to crumble in the face of adversity and shrink in the face of being stretched, then the reward of Saturn, because it always gives me Saturn energy when you go through a long, tough, strenuous, hard transformation. But then Saturn is like, and now let me rain on you. Let me send you your love. Let me send you everything that you ever looking for, because you did it. You did it. You graduated. And now you get to move up onto that next solar ring of energy. So I just don't know who needs to hear this today. I don't know who needs that energy today. But it's not over. You're just being put in a position to transform. The transformation may not be easy. The transformation may be long going, especially when you think about the Naomi story. And she had a husband, a decade later lost her kids. Who knows how many years there are in between time that she traveled home, got in good regards with her cousin / king, got him to see Ruth. Then they got pregnant. You know, like there's time. It takes time for perfect alignment to be just right. If you try to put a plug into the wall, if you're not looking and you just put it in there, you'll be like, why is it not charging? And you'll see that one part of the prong is in there and the other part of the prong isn't, and you really about to burn your plug up now because you weren't taking the time for the perfect alignment to happen so that the connection and the electrical charge could happen to give you the outcome that you're looking for. We got to be patient in the transformation. I've been talking about for weeks in the eclipse journey that we're all in right now, that usually eclipses are rapid moving. They are usually getting straight into what it is. You will feel the direct effect of it physically. This eclipse season is slow moving. It's going to play out for us for an entire year, because the next new moon in the Aries eclipse is going to be next March 2025. The Pisces full moon that activated everything in the beginning of March will be reactivated or actually closing up with the eclipse in September in Pisces. So this is a long acting cycle that we are all in. And we can't give up just before the miracle. Like Florence Scovel Shinn says, 3 days after you give up is when the miracle is going to come. She has a recording or a part of her book that's actually voice recorded now, where she says a woman was so depressed because she couldn't pay her bills and she didn't know where the money was going to come from, and she just was ready to give up. So she did. And 3 days after she died, she got a $10,000 inheritance from one of her family members that had already died. Somebody has already been your crucifixion. Somebody has already been the sacrifice. And you steady trying to put yourself on the fake cross. You still trying to go up there and hang yourself. For what? To be recognized for what or by who, when all of that work has already been done. So it's kind of, futile for you to waste that energy. Or for you to give up because you feel like it's not moving fast enough for you. Everything in divine timing, everything in divine alignment. When I tell you that the book of Ruth is going to be one of them stories that ride with me, shout out to all the Naomis. Shout out to my clients, Naomi, who rolled through here in the last couple of weeks, because I know that wasn't nothing but the universe. Ooh, I know that was the Most High. I know that was my ancestors. My great-great-grandmama, and I'm looking at her picture right now, I know she was like, this child just don't want to listen. But everything in divine timing, because if I would have read the book, then I would have done the decoding and doing the sermon right when I read it, and that would have been weeks before me learning about the eagle. and the ego process and transformation of not giving up just before you can live again. And then you can live forever again. And that's what the whole eclipse is, and that's what everything is. That's where we are right now. So let's get into some Trapstrology of the week. Today, the moon is in Cancer, square Venus. So there may be some emotional depths that are met today. Avoid telling false truths or just be talking to be talking. Be intentional or be quiet. Tomorrow, the moon will also be in Cancer, and you know that Monday is ruled by the moon. Monday is ruled by the moon, for those who don't know, and I'm sure that, you're not a novice if you're here on this channel, but just, you never know who's listening or who this might touch. So Monday is ruled by the moon, Tuesday is ruled by Mars, Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, Thursday is ruled by Jupiter, Friday is ruled by Venus, Saturday is ruled by Saturn, Sunday is ruled by the sun. Working with the planetary hours of each of those days. So in the Mercury hour, releasing a product or asking for a raise or asking for a bonus or raising your prices will be more well received than doing it in the time of a Saturn hour. You're going to work for that. You're going to have to work for that money or for that sale or for that momentum, where it could easily be given to you if you use it during a Mercury or a Jupiter hour. Working with the energy of those days. That's why I come on here and do Trapstrology of the week all the time. And I have to forget that my YouTube family is the newest extension to my tribe. My Patreon and my IG family been around since the beginning, and so they know that when I'm doing this Trapstrology, we're doing it off of the energy of the moon, Mars, what have you. It's funny that we start our work week on Mondays, because if it was actually done right, we wouldn't start our work week until Tuesday, ruled by Mars, which is strategy and fire and, the capacity to go the long haul and to get a lot of things, accomplished. Then you move into Wednesday, and this is the best day for us to have these meetings and communication and things of that nature. And then, it's funny how we are kind of reverse of what we should be, but that's why being in tune with the flow of the day, the energy of the day, where the moon is, what it's trying, what it's sextile, what it's conjuncting, all of that is going to be beneficial for you, because remember, nobody's coming to save you. No one is going to help you when you feel like you are in opposition of self. If anything, the world's going to give you more to deal with. So at the very least, you can give your own self something to fight with as you go out into this crazy world. So Monday, the moon will be in Cancer, and Monday is ruled by the moon. So this is going to be a lot of maternal energy, emotional energy, and then it's going to be square Mercury and the sun. So there may be some internal battles of the consciousness in your external being, but we need to allow for there to be some space of the unfurling of our emotional coliseums. And even if we feel like we're in a tower moment, make room for that motherfucker to fall. Let the tower fall, because the rebuild is going to be so much more beautiful. Tuesday, ruled by Mars. The moon is in Leo. There will be 2 fire signs ruling the sky. So be mindful of the energy today. Literal evil may be lurking. Haters, evil eye, people who just, don't want to see you do well, or you may be even having some negative, murky thoughts. Shake that shit. Let it go. Be very intentional with your cleansing routines and your rituals. I've been talking about forever that, when you come home from out in the world, you need to remove all that energy off of you immediately. You need to send that energy back to from wherever it comes, because energy loves to fester, especially negative energy. And if you have a cluttery house or a messy house, that energy can fester there even more. Thursday, the moon will be void in the early AM to about 9:15. So it may be possible that you're feeling sluggish and that you're still having like residual energy or emotional sickness from the eclipse, headaches, nausea, just not really feeling like you want to do it. Take it easy and reflect on Thursday. And that's Jupiter. So that Jupiter is the largest planet in the sky. Anything it touches, it expands. Whatever feeling you're going through, whatever emotion, whatever, it's going to feel compounded. So take it easy. Friday, the moon will be in Virgo. So grab a pen and a pad and be intentional with what you are willing to sacrifice in exchange for your new life. And I know that in law of attraction and law of expectancy and working with the universe and vibration, people love to say that, I don't have to sacrifice anything. But even in the law of attraction and law of expectation, you have to sacrifice your way of thinking in order for you to align with the vibration of what you expect. Because you get what you expect. You get what you think about, whether you want that or not. So if you expect for things to go horribly, then they will go horribly. If you expect for them to go well, then they will go well. And that's why, again, you have to be very intentional and diligent with your focus and with the energy, and even be very mindful of the energy that you're taking in. On Patreon, we've been doing some social media cleanses, taking time away from social media. I've been unfollowing people left and right. If you are a person who got unfollowed, it's not personal. It's just we don't have anything in common, or we're just not, vibing how we used to vibe, or maybe I never vibed with you and I just followed you for shits and giggles, and now it's time for me to move on to something new. So, I shared in my newsletter last week to be very mindful of the energy that you're looking at, especially with social media. There's a lot of sadness right now. Condolences to the family that was affected last week. I'm not even going to publicly speak about it. I don't even want that energy on my channel. But just know that we've always kind of been in the space of them trying to attack the spiritualist and make it a modern day witch hunt. And it's going to be even more so now because of the things that transpired last week. But it's no different than people who are avid Christians and Bible thumpers who have drowned their family or done worse to their kids or their family because God told them to do so. So it's just a time to really be mindful of spiritual psychosis. And I know that word is probably being very oversaturated right now, but it is real. I have never felt the effects of a spiritual psychosis in totality or to that magnitude, but it is real. And that's why I always tell people to be very intentional about your cleansing routines and your rituals. I had stopped offering a lot of my tangible services, like the things that I would pack up or I would have to blend and let them sit and curate for a couple of weeks or months. I stopped doing them for about a year because I was being spiritually attacked for about a year. And everything that I was going to try to do or put into something was going to be then transmuted to my client. And that's not fair to them. But again, being intentional and diligent about what you allow to attach to your energy, what you allow your energy to attach to. If you're in a fear-mongering state, if you're always afraid, if you're always worried, that is going to be depressive to your immune system before anything else. Energy of the week. Ooh, expect miracles and there will be. Child, solar plexus energy. Let it light fire to your fears. The solar plexus is the home of your soul and your ego. So this week, make sure that you're checking in with that energetic space and asking, is this something that my soul is going to be benefiting from, or is this something that my ego is going to benefit from? And I can tell you that a lot of times, if your ego is going to be the one that gets the W, then your soul is going to be the one that suffers. Don't judge my card either. This card was actually part of the fire that I experienced in 2017 when I tried to do a ritual with the Pisces full moon eclipse in 2017. The entire candle exploded, and this was the card that was on the altar. And I love how it burned. I love how I was able to get it. I love how it's the miracle card. I love how it's a fire card. I'm going to read from it in a minute. But that was also my confirmation of don't try to ever fucking work with don't ever try to work with an eclipse. Let the eclipse do what it's going to do. So when I say don't work with the eclipse, I'm telling you from my own experience. And we got our own miracle card here to confirm that. But check in with yourself this week. Am I staying energetically attached to this person out of my ego, or am I staying energetically attached to this person out of something that my soul is going to be able to benefit from? The next energy that came out is back in the heart chakra space, grief. It may be a grieving period for you to realize that, I was only doing that out of malicious intent. I was only doing that so that my enemies could see that I could win. I was only doing that because my mama and my daddy told me if I didn't do it, then they would disown me. I was only doing that because my husband or my wife told me that I have to. So there may be a grieving period of realizing that I'm coming back to myself. I'm going away from who I used to be or who I was being for other people, and I'm coming back to myself. So there can be a period of grief for that. But again, expect the miracles. Look how it's a girl rising from the ashes like the phoenix eagle. But then the bottom of the deck, back in the solar plexus, facade. You can only fake for so long. That's what a facade is. You're putting on a fake face. You're putting on a mask so that you can be accepted, or so that you can be tolerated, or so that maybe people will understand you more. But that facade is slowly killing you. So it's really important that you move away from that. Miracle is the first energy, solar plexus, and it reads, the brightest of all thoughts resides in sun yellow. As natural radiance stems from pure integrity, be honest and forthright no matter what. With the energy of the sun, a miracle awaits. You instinctively know what is authentic, so trust this. Integrity is what will turn on your light. Do you let someone in, or do you pretend to not see them? You cannot shut out pain without shutting out pleasure. Kindness exists to lend magic to integrity. Ask yourself, the essence of inspiration is integrity. Can I be counted on? Know that being a light, lighting the way for others, will bring in your coming miracles. So, Naomi, come on. Come on. With the energy of the sun, a miracle awaits. Being a light by lighting the way for others will bring in your coming miracles. Sometimes, and we don't like to as humans like to admit this, but sometimes our suffrage is so that someone else will not have to suffer. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would live my fucked up childhood again if I knew that I was going to birth my baby into some shit that she would never have to experience nothing that I went through, that she'll never have to experience any of that suffrage or that pain. That fake Jesus story that they try to give us, that he died so that none of us would ever have to suffer again, that never sat well with me as a child that was being touched and taken in ways that she would not have been touched and taken. So it didn't resonate for me, because if Jesus died so I didn't have to suffer, what is this suffrage that I'm going through? I literally died. A portion of me literally died and was sacrificed so that my child's child wouldn't have to suffer. David, Naomi. Naomi's husbands and her babies died so that that next lineage would live 200 years if they wanted to. Each of them. Grief in the heart consciousness, in the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is our electrical system. You know, when your heart stops, your life stops. So as long as you got some energy there, you got some power there, you need to be doing the best that you can with that energy. You want to go to sleep every night with doing no harm and taking no shit. So with the Mayat energy, light as a feather, but also not going to tolerate no bullshit. And again, that's the grief, because now you're realizing that when you invoke these boundaries, you may lose some people. When you tell them no, you're going to see exactly how they feel about you. Grief reads, this card heralds a deep caring and an ability to heal and love again. However deep the pain or hard the challenges you face, troubled times denote smooth sailing ahead. Grief is love without a place to go. Penelope and Pickle, which is the girl and the dog, remind us that what we reveal, we can heal. Give yourself time and you will love again. In honor of your pain, if you honor your pain, it will change your life. Is lingering grief preventing you from progression? If so, what can you see in your heart? Feel grief. That's a healing process. If you're missing someone or something, do not be afraid of sadness and know that love is on the horizon. And I know that the eclipse activated some sadness and grief for some of us as well, especially if you are a person who already kind of goes through the seasonal changes with the season. So what I mean by that is a lot of people do not grieve throughout the year. They grieve at season change. So when it's going to be spring again, you're reminded that, you know, the last spring that you used or you spent with your family member. When it's going into summer, so on and so forth. But I feel like it's the biggest surge of energy when you're going into the cold months after we've been warm for 6 months. And then we're going back into the warm months after we've been cold for so long. So don't be afraid of your sadness, but don't wallow in your sadness. Grief can cripple you if you don't allow yourself to feel it and move through it and then use that energy to support you in other ways. And then that facade was the shadow focus, or the bottom of the deck focus. And it reads, personal comfort comes with this metallic energy and a deep need to discover your true self. Earthly values and care for others are also represented. Being cut off from your feelings may be a challenge. Recover who you are and rethink your journey. Naomi energy. It's real easy to pick up the anger, bitter, mad, upset, I feel rejected, the world hates me, God hates me. And then that's going to be what your ultimate reality is, which is a facade, because it's not your truth. We've been talking about since the Libra full moon eclipse that what we've picked up was something we got from our mother before we even got here on earth. So now that we know that, we're responsible for retrieving a new reality. We're responsible for shattering the facade so that we can attain and retain something that is more energetically pleasing. This card, the first sentence is, this isn't who I am. This is not who I am. If you are unhappy in your relationships, you may be relating to others through a false sense of duty. Give up being something you are not. Bronze God is about reclaiming life. What have I done to heal my childhood pain? And we don't know if this is a little boy in his older self or it's a little boy in his ancestral self. If this is Naomi's husband and now Obed The child who's going to inherit the throne because Naomi didn't give up? We don't know. But stop disassociating yourself. Reclaim your life and heal your childhood pain. Recovery is at play. Because this ain't you no more. This whole week is going to be about that deep, beyond the surface level healing. The next full moon phase that we're going to have is going to be Scorpio. It's going to be a full moon in Scorpio, and I think it's going to be April 23rd. You can feel those effects 3 days before, 3 days after. All I'm saying is we're going into the catacombs, and it's going to be a beautiful thing to realize that you can't take everything with you in death. The Egyptians proved that to us. They were all buried with their gold and their copper, and it wasn't because they were trying to go to the other life and have gold and copper. They knew that the gold and copper and the silver were actually going to be conductors of energy that were going to help their soul and their spirit get to the next dimension, get to the next planet. But we see that the gold chains and the gold teeth and all of that was still left here on earth. So we're going to see that as we walk through the catacombs, there are going to be certain parts of us that have to be left, that can be grieved, but it was all a facade. It was never really us. And we have to leave that behind in order to make space for the miracles. Come on, Spirit. I give gratitude. I'm asking for guidance, direct intention. Give me what my clients and anyone who may be hearing this recording may need. Amazon, all I know is you better have my package on there. Because they've been delaying it for like a week. It's supposed to be here last Sunday. Then when I try to get a refund, they said, "Oh no, you can't get the refund. We about to do it real quick. We're gonna get it to you real quick." Patience. The Empress is the first energy of the week that we have here. Pregnant with potential. I told y'all the full moon Scorpio is going to be very significant for a lot of us. Scorpio rules the 8th house in whole sign Western astrology. So you may want to go look at your Scorpio placements and then also go look at your 8th house. The 8th house is also your ancestral inheritance. So what did your mother or your matrilineal lineage already do for you? Come on, Naomi. That you don't have to do for yourself. You want to walk in the footprints that have already been created for you as opposed to creating your own way. And I get it. We are all independent. We are all free thinking. We want to choose our own choice, and that's great. But sometimes you need to use nepotism. You need to move how the rich folks move. Trevor has never had to ever do anything but put his name on the application paper. And he was going to be accepted because his mama went to school and played croquet with the admissions rep. They're going. You better use it sometimes. Use your energetic connection, attachment, ancestral dedication, and efforts that have already been provided for you. Today the moon is in Cancer. Tomorrow the moon is in Cancer. What did your matrilineal already provide for you? And even if you don't have the best connection with your matrilineal, grieve that. Then rebirth it. Then reparent it within yourself and say, well, what can I leave for the tribe behind me? What can I leave for the people who are coming behind me? Balancing it all out. And you see he got the sun and the moon in his hand. And yes, it came out reversed. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be rapidly changing. But it's going to be a necessary migration into the balancing out of things. Things have been out of balance for so long. We can look at that with the masculine and feminine principles. We can look at that with the war, famine, poverty in the world. We can look at that in a lot of things in life and see that things have not been in balance for quite some time. So it's really good when the moon comes across the sun. It's really good when Nibiru comes across the sun and blacks it out for a minute and resets things so that things can get turned back up right and balance themselves out appropriately, and everything can be moving in a divine fashion. Queen of Pentacles, so we can return to our current state of consciousness or our elevated state of consciousness. Tangible and fruitful rewards are not going to always be in what you can see or what you can spend or what you can show. Sometimes it will be in lineage. Sometimes it will be health, especially where we are going. Take care of your health, especially over these next 3 years. That is the wealth, and being able to think consciously or have the discernment on who to allow around your energy or your environment or how you move is going to bring you the most wealth than any investment ever could. Cutting ties, the devil. cutting ties with the energies in your lower vibration, in your lower chakra system, in your sensual and sexual ego systems, letting go of that. No matter how alluring it may be, no matter how attractive they may be, you need to be willing to cut those ties again and make space for the miracle, because these attachments are a facade. This is not who you are. This is not who you are connected to. You don't have to be connected to them. Again, the moon is playing a heavy role. There's some things that you do not know that are being hidden from you and beyond the depths that are going to be revealed to you by April 23rd, the week of April 23rd, or a couple of days after, that are going to show you that the one face you've been seeing, that it seems like everything is great, is actually met with an equal or more powerful, darker energy that is going to help you transmute the energy. Because you're going to be like, oh shit, I almost was committed to this. I almost fell for the okie doke. I almost fell for your emotional guilt trip. But now I see you did this to yourself. Because see, I don't know if this is mermaid legs. It halfway look like she a mermaid, but it also look like she drowning in a dress. So did you take the deep dive and you weren't prepared for it? You didn't have even the correct nautical equipment to go where you were going? Did you commit to something or someone that you weren't supposed to be committed to or not? And now you're realizing that you only had fins to swim so deep. You could only get so deep in that water before now you're transforming back into your human self and seeing that you were bamboozled from the very beginning. I don't know. The full moon is going to bring a lot of closure and awareness and big decisions. And this week is giving you the precursor of this. You have 3 decisions. You can go left, right, when you come to that fork in the road, or you can go straight. Because it's only a false opinion that we have to make a decision to go left or right. So, what are you going to do? I've been talking for an hour. Let me wrap this up. And then Patreon, I'm going to come and spill y'all a little bit of tea for the week. Let it wash away. Moon and Cancer. Let it wash away. Rebirth yourself through the waters of the world. Through the waters of your mind. Aries. That eclipse is still eclipsing. You can feel it residually for 6 months, 3 weeks after, a whole year, depending on where it is affecting you. Capricorn. Saturn is in Pisces. Capricorn is Cancer's direct opposite, father energy. Reparenting yourself this week. Not waiting around for somebody to do it for you. Not waiting around, but taking the initiative, much like our homegirl Naomi, to say, nah, let me put myself, let me put my lineage, let me put my girl, let me put my people in the position to win. And then the final energy, repentance. Forgive yourself for where you feel that you have fallen short, because it's only where you forgot that you were the creator, that the creators created to create your best life. This concludes our session, y'all. I hope it was easy and real for y'all. It was everything for me. Have a good week. I'll see y'all next week. Holla back.